Okay, good evening. This shir is Leinu Nishmas Meir Shimon ben Avrom Yaakov Nemeti. May he be a Melit Yosha for his family, his close family, and his older family, and all of Klal Yisrael. Today, I would like to speak about a few subjects surrounding the Shabbos. This week's Parsha, Parshas Beshalach, is upcoming, is about the first time that we speak about Shabbos. And I would like to speak a little bit about the concept of Shabbos, which was always a little bit of a mystery. And I hope to give you a shir, which will give you a bit of different understanding from a different perspective on why we are not allowed to do certain meluchas, and also why we have to eat 3 meals in Shabbos, and if we have some time, depending on the time, and if I see that you're all falling asleep, then I will have to stop earlier. It's also why is Shabbos considered an edus, that we are saying a testimony to Hashem's creation of the world. How can we say that this is edus if we haven't seen anything, because man was created after the Bria? So let's maybe start with the first element. The question I would like to discuss in the first part is why is when a person makes, for example, the double knot on Shabbos, which is really something very, very little, he just makes one knot and makes a double knot on top of it, he is Mechal Shabbos. And when he does that, and he does it with the Eidim, with the testimony and Asfor, when they warn him, he's Chai Skila, and if not, he's Chayav Chorus, and otherwise you have to bring a Chatos if you made it b'shoigik with a mistake. And if somebody does it b'faresia, he does it in open in public, he is actually even considered mamish like a mummer. And if he touches wine, his wine is also b'shtir, mamish like a goy, and his bread, if he bakes bread, is considered pas akum. So the question is why? What is wrong with making, for example, a knot? Or what is wrong with taking out something black out of a plate where there is a lot of white beans? Why is it considered so bad? And why is this person really considered mamish like a goy? And to stay a little bit in the concept of what's going on today, if a person abuses children, for example, he's still considered a Jew. His wine is still kosher. But if somebody makes a double knot, never he made a double knot, and then he is already a chayav skila and is out, and his wine is also. So how can we explain that? What type of element can it still be in the context of what we are doing today? So I would like to continue with the thing that we have spoken in the last year. In the last year, we have described that the purpose of the creation of the world is the 6 days that were created. The end goal of the creation is always the last thing that Hashem made. And what was the last thing that Hashem made is he planted a Gan Eden. So the Gan Eden is the purpose, the end purpose, the spitz of the creation is the Gan Eden. Why did Hashem create the Gan Eden? Because he wanted to live on this world. It says, the Medrash says, Bosi legani, I came to my Gan. So Bon Shalom wanted to live in a world which has 3 dimensions and time. And so he wanted to live on this world and experience whatever he wanted to experience on this world. And therefore, he created the world. But he needed humans to look after the Gan Eden. They didn't do a very good job. He had to chuck them out of the Gan Eden. And we all know the story. And at the end, he's decided that he's going to build a Mishkan, a Beis HaMikdash finally, but originally was a Mishkan. And the Mishkan was the place where Hashem could live again on this world. So the Bon Shalom went up seven levels and then came back down 7 levels, and he started living in the Mishkan. So this is a little bit the story that we discussed last time. Now, when the Chazal saw in the Torah, when the Torah says that a person is not allowed to do a melucha, when a person is not allowed to do a melucha, the question is, what does it mean that he's not allowed to do a melucha? So it says in the Torah, Sheishes Yom Tavoid, V'sisa Kol Melachtecho, V'yom HaShvi Tishbois. Then it said, V'sasa Kol Melucha. So the question is, what does it mean, V'sasa Kol Melucha? What does the word melucha mean? I'm sure if we would make a little round the table workshop brainstorming about, let's define together on the whiteboard, we'll define together the element of what does it mean a melucha, I'm sure that we would find a lot of different definitions. Some people would define it as working to make money. Others would define it of working to become tired. So a lot of people would have their own definition. And to be honest, nearly all of it, what you will come up with, will not be part of what Chazal understood as being a melucha. And the things that Chazal understood to be a melucha would not be part of what you were in your mind thinking of what does it mean a melucha. And how did Chazal actually define what is a melucha? So they said, I have no choice, we have no choice. Let's look in the Torah, does it say somewhere else the word melucha? And let's find out what in this world, in this word which Chazal, the Torah speaks somewhere else, do we know what was done in that time? And so Chazal they found the word melucha in the building of the Mishkan. So when Klal Yisrael built the Mishkan, they found this word, and it says there, Meleches HaMishkan, and so it says, the word melucha is also used there, like the word melucha there means the building of the Mishkan, so too, the melucha that we're not allowed to do on Shabbos are all the building elements, all the parts that the Mishkan, how the Klal Yisrael created the Mishkan, they built the Mishkan, everything that they done to build the Mishkan will be one of the meluchas that we will say is part of the Issur to do on Shabbos. So everything that Klal Yisrael did to build the Mishkan is considered a melucha. So when the Torah says, Le'sase kol melucha, it's also to mean that everything that Klal Yisrael did, we're not allowed to do on Shabbos. Now, to understand that is very difficult in the sense that what does it have to do with Shabbos? So, okay, you found the word melucha in the word of Mishkan, but what does it have to do with Shabbos? So, but if we go back to what I just said, there is something very logic behind that. Why? We just said that the purpose of the creation of the world was the building of a Gan Eden. So we were building a Gan Eden, a rest dwelling place. The Rebbeinu Shalom created his own dwelling place, and therefore he said, I worked for 6 days to build it, and on the 7th day, I stopped working it. I came to the conclusion, everything was good, he was very happy, and because he did all the work during the 6 days, the 7 days we have to rest. Now it means, it's very easy, let's say what Rebbeinu Shalom did. What is this meluchas that he did? So the meluchas that he did was, he separated light from darkness. I don't think that we can do that. He separated the waters from the sky to the waters from the ground. It's not something that we humans can do. And he created the Yabosha, he brought up the dry land from the sea. That's also not something that we can do. So how can we do it? So what we do is, let's look at what do we do that is quite similar to what Hashem did. What did Hashem do? He built a Gan Eden. So his creation was to build his Gan Eden. What did we do? We also built his Gan Eden. We built the Mishkan. So similar to how he built the Gan Eden, and since the Gan Eden and the Mishkan is exactly the same, it is a copy of the Gan Eden. The Beis HaMikdash will be, and we discussed it last year, how the Beis HaMikdash is a copy of the Gan Eden. So since the Rebbeinu Shalom created the Gan Eden, but we can't create like he did, but what we did do is, we did create the same Gan Eden on this world by building the Mishkan. So everything that we used to build the Mishkan is kind of equivalent to how the Rebbeinu Shalom created the Gan Eden. And so therefore, everything that we did, that we used to do, is considered like we have built the Gan Eden, and therefore we are not allowed to do these things in Shabbos. So that's quite a logic that we can understand based on what we said in the last time. However, why is if somebody makes then a double knot, he is considered mamish like a goy? And for this, we have to think a little bit further. When Klal Yisrael came out of Mitzrayim, there were a people, we call them a people in Am Yisrael. They were slaves originally, they had to learn how to build, and they had to be able to become a nation. They had to go through everything that they went through. And then the Rebbeinu Shalom said, you were all kind of different people. There were 12 tribes, 12 shvotim, And in order to unite them, if we wanted to unite those 12 Shvatim, how do we do that? Because everybody has, there's Vishnitz Chassidim, Satmar Chassidim, there's so many different types of people that suddenly we have to all unite them and build an army and start attacking and going into Eretz Yisrael. So how do you create one united nation, if you want? So how do you do that? So what we did is, Rebbeinu Shalom said, well, you know what? We'll create a project where everybody has to build together. So the first project that Klal Yisrael had when he came out of Mitzrayim in the Midbar was, before they went into Eretz Yisrael, they had to create and build one project. Which is a project? It was the building of the Mishkan. The building of the Mishkan is a very good trick on how to want to unite people together. There was Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, he said actually something very interesting. He spoke to Tony Blair once, and Tony Blair asked him, why does the Torah is very much, a lot of pages, chapters go over the building of the Mishkan. What is so special about the building of the Mishkan? Could have said it in 2 sentences. Klal Yisrael built the Mishkan how the Rebbeinu Shalom wanted it. And it would be enough. Why is everything and this and how they cut and how they built and how they did. And the whole story is like pages long on the building of the Mishkan. Why is it so important? So he answered him that, like what I just said, that the way to create unity in a multicultural society, if you want in a multicultural society for everybody to live together in harmony, and you want to create one nation, the best thing is to have a project. So you have to have a project where everybody is building it together, so that everybody has one project. It's like we call it in business, in corporates, we do team building. So what is a team building? You go outside in the Ardennen, and then you have to build the raft over, and to be able to go over the river, you all receive some woods, and you all have to learn how to work together. I'm going to do this, you're going to do that, I'm going to do the ropes, and you will design. And so we all have to learn together to work together, and not everybody has his own will, but to have a will which is a common will and a common goal. And this is also was the Mishkan. The Mishkan was a common goal that Klal Yisrael united and became a nation, which then will be able to go into Eretz Yisrael. And that is very important. That means that everybody from the whole Klal Yisrael had to build the Mishkan. What does it mean? That even sometimes people who were not very talented, who were maybe handicapped, or maybe were very old, and they also needed to build the Mishkan. We all had to build the Mishkan. So what did we do? So we said the whole Klal Yisrael, everybody receives the task. Those who were strong, they could take wood and cut wood and make harisha and ketzir and all the heavy stuff. And then you have the people who were more fragile, maybe not well. And what do they do? So what they had to do, can you make a double knot? Yes, make a double knot. But everybody had to do something that will create the Mishkan. It's very important to create a unity that nobody will be left out and nobody will be outside of the Jewish nation. So everybody had to work together, and those who could did the big work, and those who couldn't at least did the little work. Even taking out the black thing from the white thing was also part of telling them, you are also part of the building the Mishkan, and you also deserve to become one nation to go into Eretz Yisrael. And so therefore, when somebody goes and makes a double knot befaresia outside in the street, it is as if he says that this is not a melucha. That's not important. Big building and going, that's important. Driving a car, maybe, but making a double knot, was kann schon sein. But it's very important, because if he does that, it's as if he says that a big part of the nation, the Jewish nation, were not participating in the building of the unification of that nation. And so therefore they are excluding them from the Jewish people. And by they excluding others from the Jewish people, Chazal said that he is also excluded from the Jewish people. And so therefore, if he does that, befaresia, his wine is also to drink, and his bread cannot be eaten, etc., mamish like a goy. So this is how we can understand why somebody who makes a double knot, he is excluded from the Jewish nation, because this double knot was very important for some people who had no talents other than be able to do that. And so therefore, if you're saying that this is not really a melocha, who said, this is nothing, it is mamash, he is excluding a big part of the Jewish nation to be part, and therefore Hashem, then Chazal also excluded him from being part of our unified nation. So this is to explain in a different way why a person taka is, why it's double knot is also considered a melocha, and why if a person does that, he is indeed excluded from being kind of a Jew. Of course, his kiddushin is a kiddushin, but the only legabe different dinim is considered like a god. Now, the second question that I would like to ask is, why do we have to eat the 3 meals on Shabbos? That's a very interesting thing. Why do I have to bedavke eat 3 meals on Shabbos? This week's parsha, in Parshas Beshalach, we learn, Chazal learn, that we have to eat 3 meals, and the 3 meals have to be on Shabbos. It's a 3-time hayon in this week's parsha, and therefore we have to eat the 3 meals on Shabbos. To understand a little bit more why that is, we just said that the Beis HaMikdash is the place where Hashem decided to create his dwelling place, his place where he's living. So this is where Hashem wants to live. Now, place Hashem, before he created in the Sefer Yetzirah, Hashem, it describes there how Hashem has created the world. And so first, how do you do? How do you create a world? From nothing. So what you do is first you have to create the 3-dimensional space. You have to have space, 3 dimensions, and 6 directions. And those who remember the vector analysis, if those who had to learn with their children in school. And so you have the 3 dimensions and the 6 directions. And then you also needed time. So we have time and we have space. And this is the 4 dimensions that Hashem created, and he created another dimension, which is called the Ruach, which is the Toiv and the Ra. So these are the 5 dimensions that Hashem created before he can create a world. So you have space and you have time. In space, what he did is, he said, okay, the world, the universe created with the world inside, and then in the world, he has demarked a place which is called Yerushalayim, Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, and in Yerushalayim, Harabais. In Harabais, there is the Beis HaMikdash. In the Beis HaMikdash, there is the Heichal. In the Heichal, there is a Kodesh HaKodeshim. So it is like a hierarchy of time and of space, and this is what we call the Beis HaMikdash. So the Beis HaMikdash is this hierarchy of Kedusha that he created in the world. Now, what about time? Time is also has this hierarchy. So you have time, and so in the time you have the Yom Tovim, which are on a certain degree, certain Kedusha. But what the Shabbos is that the Shabbos is the Beis HaMikdash of the time dimension. So like you have in the space dimension, the Beis HaMikdash is this in Harabais is the Beis HaMikdash for the dimension of space. When it comes to time, the most important time, which has also a border, is the time between Friday night and Motzei Shabbos is considered Beis HaMikdash in time. Why do I say that? What do we say? We said that the Beis HaMikdash is the place where Hashem wants to dwell, where he wants to live. And it says also that on Shabbos, we see also that Rabbeinu Shloim is here on this world more on Shabbos than he is on other days of the week. Where do we see that? Anybody has some ideas? How do we know that on Shabbos there is more of the Rabbeinu Shloim in this world than on other days of the week? Any suggestions? So I will tell you, we all have a neshama, right? What is a neshama? Oh, neshama is. We all have a neshama. What does it mean, a neshama? Neshama is a chelek elokam imal. The neshama that we have received is already part of the Beis HaMikdash, the Rabbeinu Shloim on this world. We as Jews specifically, we have even a high level degree. So every human being has a neshama, chelek elokam imal. But the Jewish nation has a neshama which is a little bit more developed, so that our bodies, we can accept more kedusha than if you want to, we can accept more kedusha, quicker kedusha than can somebody who is not Jewish. Now, This neshama Yisrael, this neshama is the representation of Hashem on this world. Hashem lives on this world through us. Now, what is important is that on Shabbos, indeed, the neshama, there's an extra neshama that comes down. This is called the neshama Yisrael. Neshama Yisrael, by definition, what does it mean? It means that the Rebbeinu Shalom is more present on this world because he sends down extra chelek elokam imal. There is an extra chelek on the Rebbeinu Shalom coming down in every Jewish person. And so the Rebbeinu Shalom lives on this world in a more intense way on Shabbos than he is when it is in the middle of the week. So you see also again, so like the Beis Hamikdash is a place where the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Shechina, is concentrated, highly concentrated. So too, the Shabbos is a time where the Rebbeinu Shalom is with us. But what is beautiful is, it's not a place where only Kohanim are allowed to go. Each and every Jew, male and female, child, old, young, whatever, they all have this neshama Yisrael that we receive, which brings, it's quite a democratization, if you want, of this element of bringing down the Rebbeinu Shalom. So when a Shabbos, when a Jew celebrates Shabbos, the neshama Yisrael that comes down increases and gives a place for the Rebbeinu Shalom to live on this world through our existence. And this is why it is considered a Beis Hamikdash on this world. And I don't know if you know, but there is in the Beis Hamikdash, one of the very important things that we were doing were to bring korbanos. And there are dinim, there are some korbanos that were only allowed to be eaten. Not all korbanos were eaten. Some korbanos were brought on the mizbeach and were burnt completely. But a lot of korbanos, they were eaten. So they were actually eaten up, and they were they had to be eaten by the Kohanim, by the Israelim in Yerushalayim. And you're not allowed to eat outside of the border. Something very strange this is how it is. The Rebbeinu Shalom says you're not allowed to eat the chatos outside of the borders of the Azorah, of the Beis Hamikdash. You have to eat it inside of the border. You're not allowed to eat it outside of the border. So if you eat it outside the border, it's chayav koros. There is a lot of punishment said on this sin. The Rebbeinu Shalom repeats it a lot in the Torah that you're not allowed to eat a kodshim outside of the Beis Hamikdash or a shlomim outside of Yerushalayim. So we see here the element of eating everything together in the same area, in the area which has a kedusha. So from there, Chazal understood that since there are 3 meals in a day, I'm not going to go, the truth is only 2 meals, but let's assume that there are 3 meals in a day. It is very important, Chazal said, that you eat the 3 meals in the Shabbos. That's why we have a Shalosh Shudas, that we have to eat it before, some eat it before the Shkia, there are but not to eat it after the Shkia, because eating outside of Shabbos, it is as if I'm eating the kodshim outside of the Beis Hamikdash. As we said, the Beis Hamikdash the Shabbos is a Beis Hamikdash in time. So time has a border from Friday night till Saturday night. And so too, we can say that eating the kodshim outside of the Shabbos, if you eat the meals outside of the Shabbos, it is as if you ate the kodshim outside of the Beis Hamikdash. And so therefore, there is a very important element of eating the meals, the 3 meals inside of the Shabbos. Otherwise, it would be considered as eating it outside of the Kedusha, the Beis Hamikdash, which is the Beis Hamikdash of time. I can even add, if I have a little bit more time, I can even add that the Melava Malka is, why do we eat Melava Malka on Motzei Shabbos? Is because in the Gan Eden, the night is like by the Beis Hamikdash, the night normally follows the day. So for us Jews, normally the day is actually starts with the night and comes the day. That's why Friday night starts Shabbos and finishes on Motzei Shabbos. In the Beis Hamikdash, by Kodshim, it's the other way around. It starts with the morning and ends with the end of the night. It's in the morning already, like it was in the Gan Eden originally as well. Vayi Erev, Vayi Boiker, Yom Sheni. How does it work? Vayi Erev, became the morning, that's already the second day. And so there is a proof, and the Rashbam says it, and Ibn Ezra was very upset, he had a whole dream about that, and he wanted to burn. He had a dream from the Shabbos. Shabbos came to him and told him that there is a book in your house. He was actually in London, in England somewhere, and he had a dream in the middle of the night, Friday night, that in the house there is a sefer that says that you have to be Mechal Shabbos. And he went and they looked and he found, they claim he found his Rashbam, and the Rashbam says that the night, the night starts, the day starts from the morning, and ends in the end of the night, which is opposite of what we are doing. And so he wanted to burn it. He didn't burn it, but he burned it straight after. Very nice story, interesting story from the Ibn Ezra. That's maybe another subject. But you see here that there is such a concept of in the Beis Hamikdash where the day and then the night instead of the night and then the day, in terms of how do we calculate a day going from one day to the next. And so therefore, since in the Beis Hamikdash, it starts with the day and then the night, so we try to eat also a meal, Lava Malka, also on Motzei Shabbos, to make sure that we have the meals in both the days and the night, the next night, which is still considered kind of a Shabbos from Beis Hamikdash Tike Shabbos. And like the Mishkan, which was a building which was on and off, continuously, Klal Yisrael, if you remember, they were 40 years, they were building the Mishkan, and then Hashem said, now you have to move again. So they had to break it, and then they have to build it again. So continuously had to put it apart and then building again. So too, at some point, the Mishkan received a resting place, a fixed resting place, which is the Beis Hamikdash in Yerushalayim. Similarly, the Shabbos, which is always in the middle of the week, then first we have the weekdays, we prepare the Shabbos, then comes the Shabbos, and then after the Shabbos, we have to break down the whole Shabbos, take away the nice tablecloth, and then we start all over again. So at some point in Achis Hayomim, it says that it's going to be Yom Shekulu Shabbos V'chai Oilomim, that at some point the Shabbos will be fixed, and every day will be kind of a Shabbos. So we see here very much parallelism between the Beis Hamikdash and the Shabbos. The next part, if I still have a bit of time, the next part, I wanted to say something which I've heard on the question on why is Shabbos an Edus? Why do we say that when we keep Shabbos, we are giving testimonial to Hashem's creation of the world? How can we say an Edus, a testimonial, on something that we have not seen? We never saw the creation. We were created on the sixth day. So everything that happened before the sixth day, we did not see. So the question is, where did we see the creation of the world? Okay. Now, in this week's Parsha again, there is something very interesting that happened. If you look in the first 3 days of the creation, what were the first 3 days of the creation? The first thing is that Rabbeinu Shloilem separated Vayavdel Elokim Beinu Oiro Ve'na Choisher, separated light from darkness. First day. The second day, what did he do? Vayavdel Ben Hamayim Asher Mitachas Lerokia Ben Hamayim Asher Me'al Lerokia, separated the waters. And the third day, what did he do? He actually he took from the seas, he took up the land and he created land. So these are the 3 things that Hashem made during the creation of the world. These are the major things, because the rest, the next 3 days, what he did, he populated. He populated with the sun and the moon and the stars, then he populated with the birds and the fish, and then he populated with the trees and the animals and the humans. But the first 3 days were the proper creation, the preparation. In this week's Parsha, we find something very interesting. It's really, really very, very nice, something that I've heard and I wanted to share it with you. So in Parshas Beshalach, this week's Parsha, if you look, before Hashem did the Tkiyas Yamsuf, Hashem showed to Klal Yisrael the copy, like a YouTube movie, of the creation of how it happened in the first 3 days. How? When Klal Yisrael came to the Yamsuf, they stopped. And what happened there? So first he says, Vayisa amud ono mipneim v'yamud machareim ויבוא בין המחנה מצרים במחנה ישראל, ויהיה אונון והחושך, ויורס הלילה, וקורב זה אל זה כל הלילה. In other words, that the light, we had light and they had darkness. והחושך ויורח כל הלילה, ולא יקורב זה אל זה. So the חושך and the oil did not touch one each other. So he separated the light for us and the darkness for the Mitzrayim. Then he says, what did he say? And then he says that he ויוילך השם es hayom ברוח קודם אז כל הלילה, ויוצם es hayom לחרוב ויבוקו המים. He separated the water. Exactly what happened on the second day, right? The first day he separated the light and the darkness, and then he separated the two waters. So he made them stand, it separated the left water, the right water from the left water. And then and then he created the Yabosha where the Klal Yisrael could go over. So basically you see here this description of how Hashem did it matches exactly the 3 days of creation. Separation of the light and darkness, the separation of the two waters, and then the bringing up of the Yabosha. And so Hashem showed us the creation of the world in a different format, of course, but he showed us, he recreated, he rebuilt the story of creation in front of us so that we can see that. And once we saw it, we can say, indeed, the Rebbeinu Shloim has the power and he is the one that has created the world. And if somebody does not keep Shabbos, it is as if he says that the Rebbeinu Shloim was not the creator, which is going against the Eidos which we just saw. The last part, and with this I'll finish, is that there are two mitzvahs that exist on Shabbos. We have one mitzvah which is called the Oinik Shabbos, the enjoyment of the Shabbos, and one mitzvah which is called the Koved Shabbos, which is the preparation for the Shabbos. So before the Shabbos, we have to be mechabed on Shabbos, to prepare, and then during the Shabbos, we have to have Oinik, we have to enjoy it. I'm not going to go into why we have to enjoy it, but that's a separate, maybe in a separate sheet. The Hadlukas Neiros that the women are doing is actually, it is the last thing that we do to prepare Shabbos. The Mishnah says the father comes home and he asks, did you take Meiser? Did you make the Eruv Chatzeros, Eruv Tavshilim, etc.? He asked all the questions, and if they all said yes, now it's time to be Madlik the Ner. So Hadlukas Neiros is kind of the last thing that we do that is the preparation. And the Oinik Shabbos is also the first thing that we do, is the Neiros. The Neiros gives us the Oinik. Without Ner, there is no Oinik. If a person eats in the dark, there is no Oinik. So the Oinik is also Hadlukas Neiros. So the Hadlukas Neiros is actually ending up the Koved Shabbos, is the last thing, and it's the beginning of the Oinik. It's the first thing that we do in the Oinik. And the women have received the schus to do that, and they even make a brocha. And there are some who say that the brocha that the women do is the brocha that of all the preparations for the Shabbos and all the mitzvahs that we're going to do. Because theoretically, why don't we make a brocha before we eat a cholent? Why don't we make a brocha? So there are some who say that the brocha that the woman does when they light the candle, this is the brocha from all the mitzvahs that we're going to enjoy the Shabbos. It is the first brocha that they do it. And therefore, there are some minhagim, I don't know if it is you by you, that the husband stands next to the woman and says an omen, because he needs also to have the same brocha for all the things that are coming down. Chazal learned that the mitzvah of Hadlukas Neiros is very important, and we learn it from a posuk because a ner brings sholem. Sholem is because when there is a ner, there is sholem, and sholem is, says the Rambam, is the main constituent for the Shabbos because it brings down the Shechina. Without sholem, there's no Shechina. And so again, we are saying that the lighting of the candles, since this is what brings the sholem, which the sholem is what brings the Shechina down, it means that it is a fantastic, it is really the most important element. If there is one element that makes the Shabbos to be a Shabbos, it is indeed the lighting of the candles. And since we already explained the connection between women and the Shechina, it makes sense that this mitzvah of lighting the candles were given to the ladies, because they are the ones that are actually capable of accepting the Shechina in this house, since we explained, remember, Leshomro, Ulovdo, Leshomro, servitude and protection. So just to make a summary of what was said today, the question is, why is all the meluchas that we know are the meluchas that we're not allowed to do? It is because these are meluchas that we were doing in the Mishkan. Why is the Mishkan so important? Because the Mishkan is building a resting place for Hashem, like Hashem when he was building the Gan Eden, and it is the stopping of that building of the Gan Eden that we commemorate. So we also, the stopping of making the meluchas of the Mishkan is what we are not allowed to do. And the reason why, when a person does it, is not considered for certain halachas like a Jew, but is mamish like a goy, that is because if he takes him outside, he's like, because these meluchas, the building of the Mishkan, was a project where everybody had to be participating. Even the people who could not participate in the big jobs, they had small jobs. And so therefore, if he thinks that this is not a melucha, he is mamish like excluding people from being in a Jewish nation, so he also gets excluded from the Jewish nation. We explained also that the Shabbos and is the Beis Hamikdash of the time. So because of the Neshama Yesera, this is where the Rebbeinu Shalom comes down. In Shabbos, an extra part of the Rebbeinu Shalom is in us, so it is more of the Rebbeinu Shalom in this world on Shabbos, and therefore also the 3 meals have to be eaten on Shabbos. Like the Kodshim, the Chatos has to be eaten in the Beis Hamikdash. And why is it an Eidus? What did we see? Because we saw indeed, just before we received Shabbos, we saw in this week's Parsha, the 3 days, the most important days of creation, was reenacted by the Rebbeinu Shalom in front of us, the splitting of the light and the darkness, the splitting of the 2 waters, the left to the right, instead of the up and down, and then the Yabosho that came up, which is where the Klal Yisrael could pass. And then we explained that Adlokas Neiros as being the mitzvah to bring down the Sholem on this world through the Oinig and the Kovet, and that it was given to the women as a schus for them to be mekabel the Shechina that is coming down on Shabbos. Maybe, are there any questions? So I will end.